Hello, this is Stuart Davies here. I'm a writer, the editor of Sherlock magazine, and the author of Starring Sherlock Holmes, which covers the detective's film and media career from 1901 to the present. I'm here to talk about Sherlock Holmes Faces Death, the fourth entry in the Universal Rathbone Bruce series, while at the same time touching on the three earlier entries. During my commentary, I will interrupt myself, commenting on anything of particular importance that's happening on the screen. By the end of my commentary, I hope you'll feel clued up on Sherlock. Well, first of all, let's just hear a little of the wonderful theme music for the series, written by Frank Skinner, who also wrote the music for the 1939 film Son of Frankenstein. A nice, dark and gothic opening. Sherlock Holmes Faces Death is the fourth in the Universal Holmes series and marks a definite change in direction. Initially, the idea behind the series was to present Sherlock Holmes as a kind of saviour for the British people in their darkest hour, in the Second World War. He was to fight the Nazis and their allies, scupper their plans and unmask their agents. Sherlock Holmes Faces Death changed all that. For the better. In this scene, the fresh-faced, blonde-haired sailor is the young Peter Lawford in his first speaking role. There he is now. And the barmaid is played by Norma Varden, who allowed Robert Walker to demonstrate how to strangle someone in Alfred Hitchcock's Strangers on a Train, 1950. After the first three Rathbone Holmes movies, the feeling generated by reviews and moviegoers alike was that old Sherlock should return to his own territory, solving ingenious mysteries generated by cunning villains in gothic houses, fog-laden environs and the like. In essence, they had mucked around too much with the character and purpose. He was a detective, not a spy-catcher, so we get a more gothic feel in this movie. We get the old, creaky house and the howling winds and the menacing shadows, all missing from the three previous films.
You'll see it when you pass the old iron gates. Only don't loiter. You won't be welcome. Not by the Musgraves. Been sitting there. Lords of the manor ever since.
With Sherlock Holmes Faces Death, the war theme that had been so rampant in the first three films is played down. There are no Nazis, no spies, no secret plans or weapons here. The motive is monetary greed, and the mystery is based on a riddle rather than a German cipher. The mood now has more to do with the Gothic rather than the Gestapo. Of course, the setting is still modern, but subtly so, with the help of the quaint sets available on the Universal backlot. And so the film slipped into a cosy time warp. If telephones and motor cars were in evidence, they were in the background. And let's face it, they both featured in the later Holmes stories anyway. In his last bow, Watson assumes a role of chauffeur. This is Brunton the butler at Musgrave Manor, a character from the story The Musgrave Ritual, on which this film is loosely, very loosely based. This Brunton is not the young Lothario of the Doyle story, but a lazy, drunken snooper. He's played by Halliwell Hobbs, who made a career out of playing butlers in Hollywood movies.
I don't think you're being quite fair, Geoffrey.
I assure you I have no wish to.
Here we see Frederick Warlock, one of the Universal Holmes Repertory Company. He appears in Pursuit to Algiers and Terror by Night, and the last movie of the series, Dressed to Kill.
I have no wish to be a sweet old soul.
With him is Hilary Brooke, who also appeared in three films. In describing the character she plays in The Woman in Green, Rathbone's Holmes says that she is a handsome woman not born to
I
the
suppose
purple,
Philip feels the
but
same
giving
way
an
about it.
excellent imitation, which is a fair description of the actress herself. Hilary Brooke affected an impression of British gentility. In reality, she was born on Long Island, New York, and her real name was Beatrice Peterson. In an interview, she recalled her days working on the series and said, "The Holmes picks made so much money that we were more or less left on our own. Nigel Bruce became a dear friend, and Basil was a darling. He was always playing tricks on the set. We both loved ice cream cones. When we were not working, we would get ice cream and stroll to the back lot and visit the animals. Roy Neill was a dear person too, very easy to work with and very kind." Oh, it all sounds lovely.
Not in the least, old boy.
Now this film delays the entry of Sherlock Holmes for some time, but at least we get Watson.
Bertram! Oh, there you are. I've been ringing for you.
And here he is,
Sorry, Dr.
Nigel
Watson.
Bruce.
I was in the upper...
One of the criticisms of these films is the presentation of Watson. Certainly Bruce's Watson is not the Watson of Doyle's Holmes stories. That fellow was a level-headed doctor, an ex-soldier and writer, and regarded by Doyle as the man in the street, an observer with average intelligence, which would make Sherlock Holmes look brilliant. He was there to emphasise the detective's genius. He observes, he notes his observations, and writes them down for publication, and asks the odd question. But in filmic terms, this version of Watson would be rather dull. And that was why so many actors playing this part prior to Bruce's incarnation were given such small screen time and found their names somewhere down around the bottom of the cast list. You really have to do something with the character. And Universal did. They made him funny, amusing anyway. He was there to provide lighter moments in these films, which, if you consider them objectively, were very dark indeed. And if Watson is wrong in the Universal films, one cannot blame Nigel Bruce for it. He was only playing the part as written. To be honest, he was almost playing himself. Certainly he was the character he presented in many other movies. One need only catch up on his performances in two Alfred Hitchcocks around the same time, Rebecca, 1939, and Suspicion, 1941. These films will confirm that he's always the same. His stiff gait and his habit of mumbling repetitively under his breath gave the impression that Watson was in his dotage, that he was an old duffer.
Are they?
Of course. Well, aren't they?
Captain Vickery is in his room, sir. And it looked like Major Langford I saw.
One critic stated that he was of the breed Bubicus Britannicus. However, having been born in 1895, he was in fact 3 years younger than Rathbone.
Anything else, sir?
Another ageing aspect was his grey-white hair. In the two Fox films, Bruce's hair and moustache had been darkened to make him look as he was more or less on equal terms with Sherlock regarding age. He was thinner in these films too.
Good night, Brunton.
But in the Universals, he emerged plumper and sans hair dye. Combination of the chubby, older, rather befuddled Watson, coupled with the lean, sharp, incisive Holmes, placed an indelible mark on the relationship, wiping from all fond records the literary reality of the stories. For years, when Holmes and Watson were presented in films, on stage and television, you had this unbalanced combination.
Near thing.
Even as late as 2000,
Like a knife wound.
when the Hallmark Channel were making a TV series of Holmes films, starting with The Hound, the script had Holmes, and I quote, as a lean, ascetic fellow in his mid-30s, while Rathbone was a stouter chap in his 50s. These descriptions were based on Rathbone and Bruce.
I remember distinctly, I was approaching the greenhouse.
This is a trick
The
scene,
wind was terrific.
a flashback of an incident that didn't happen.
I hadn't the
This is
slightest
to keep
warning.
the audience off the track of spotting the killer.
All
The
I
trick
know
was
is
played
that
by screenwriter
he
Bertram
struck and
Millhauser.
I went down.
He had co-scripted the previous movie, Sherlock Holmes in Washington, with Lynn Riggs.
No,
But more importantly, he had written the screenplay for Clive Brooke's 1932 movie,
really, I
Sherlock Holmes,
haven't any right.
so he knew his Baker Street stuff.
Every right, Dr. Sexton.
Using elements of Conan Doyle's story, The Musgrave Ritual, Millhauser created a new mystery for Holmes to solve, adding his own quirky ingredients,
Dr. Sexton.
like the clock that chimes 13 times.
doesn't relieve us of all responsibility for what occurs in it.
I mean, under the peculiar circumstances.
Oh, come along, Bob. There's no need to shield anyone.
A red herring, of course, but adding to the general air of mystery and the supernatural which pervades the movie.
Nothing at all.
We've already heard about the corpse lights around the old greenhouse.
Your father was killed the next day.
And so we reach London and Sherlock Holmes. Jolly music and stock footage. In the Musgrave Ritual, Doyle makes reference to Holmes's pistol practice indoors. And here we see evidence of it. And we get Mary Gordon as Mrs. Hudson, Sherlock Holmes's landlady. She was regarded as the third element in the Baker Street scenario. She played the part in the Fox films and occasionally in the radio series. After Sherlock Holmes Faces Death, she was seen less often. Her lines in this movie would only take a couple of pages of script, a day's filming perhaps, and yet she made her mark, becoming the most memorable Mrs. Hudson on screen, until perhaps Rosalie Williams in the Granada series. It's touching in Sherlock Holmes Faces Death that she hugs Dr. Watson when he arrives. These two softies are the warm satellites to the great cool planet of Sherlock Holmes. But Gordon's Mrs. Hudson is no timid mouse. So it's bullet holes in my plaster, is it now? She rails at her lodger. The magic is that in a few swift and inconsequential scenes, Mary Gordon seemed as much as part of the Baker Street environs as Holmes and Watson themselves. The fact that Mrs. Hudson, portrayed by Mary Gordon, is Scottish is interesting too. Doyle never says much about the background of this tolerant landlady, but in his story Black Peter, Watson remarks that Mrs. Hudson had as good an idea of breakfast as a Scotswoman. Looked at closely, this quote merely suggests that she could cook a hearty breakfast that would match any provided by a good Scotchwoman. Doyle, who grew up in Edinburgh, was probably thinking about his own breakfast as a youngster, prepared for him by his doting mother. But his words do not assert that Mrs. Hudson actually is a Scotswoman. However, so many readers have interpreted this sentiment to mean that she is from north of the border. It would seem that even the folk from Universal fell into this way of thinking. You will note that the breakfast provided for Sherlock Holmes here is porridge, the food of the lairds, sporran-tinged and kilt-driven, porridge, and lots of it, apparently, for Holmes is able to dole out a fair portion from his own dish to his friend. Of course, Nigel Bruce was used to porridge because he came from Scottish stock. Rathbone is by turns warm and critical of Watson. When he arrives at Baker Street, he's a sight for sore eyes, but very soon Holmes is insulting him. When Watson remarks that a deduction could have been carried out by a child, Holmes snapped, "Not your child, Watson." Overall, Rathbone's mood towards Watson in this movie, and indeed all the others, is indulgent.
Very spooky.
Don't tell me that you met a ghost.
No, not so spooky as that. Ghosts don't stab people in the neck, do they? Or do they?
Not well-bred ghosts, Watson. Who was stabbed in the neck?
My young assistant, Dr. Sexton.
When?
Last night.
Any idea who did it?
Oh, no idea.
You reported it?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
Oh, see, it was
My dear fellow, what you're trying to
Another
say is
authentic touch is Rathbone's dressing gown. In the original Holmes stories, Detective had at least 3 dressing gowns. A blue one, a purple one, and a mouse-coloured one. One can only guess that Rathbone's was dark blue. So let us consider how Holmes came to Universal and in this updated form. After the 2 successful 20th Century Fox films in 1939, The Hound of the Baskervilles and The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, this studio spurned the opportunity of making more. The Fox films were lavish and set in the Victorian age. Remarkably, they were the first Holmes films ever to be set in this period, and this may have been the factor behind Fox's decision. Create and maintain the sets and fund the period trappings of such an enterprise would have proved very costly. And so the Baker Street duo was dropped. However, the stars, Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce, continued to play Holmes and Watson on radio, and were very popular indeed. This prompted Universal Studios to initiate negotiations with Conan Doyle's trustees early in 1942. The author had died in 1930, but his creations continued to fill the coffers of his estate. A contract was agreed by Universal, and Doyle's people called for $300,000 to be paid to the author's estate. In return, Universal had the screen rights for the character of Sherlock Holmes for 7 years, as well as the rights to 21 of Conan Doyle's short stories. Rathbone and Bruce were signed up to star, and the series was turned over to Howard Benedict, the newly hired associate producer, recently recruited from RKO Radio Pictures. It was all systems go.
That's all very interesting, Inspector Lestrade. But what, may I ask, does it prove?
What I'm trying to prove is this. The Dr. Sextonia went down.
In this scene we encounter Inspector Lestrade, played by Dennis Hoey. He had first appeared in Sherlock Holmes and the Secret Weapon, and established Lestrade, a Doyle character, as a blustery buffoon, 2 clues short of a solution. In essence, he was more stupid than Watson, and became as much a comic foil for Bruce's Dr. Watson as Rathbone's Holmes. In such films as this one should not ask what a Scotland Yard inspector is doing investigating a murder in Northumberland, some 300 miles or so from base, and how he got there so fast. Dennis Hoey was obviously a favourite of the director Roy William Neill, for after completing his role as Lestrade in Sherlock Holmes and the Secret Weapon, Hoey played almost the same character, a dim policeman in a white mac with a bowler hat, in Neill's next film, Frankenstein meets Wolfman, Bela Lugosi and Lon Chaney Jr. Interestingly, Hoey was actually slightly taller than Rathbone, as was Nigel Bruce.
Why, if it isn't Dr. Watson?
Gentlemen, this is my friend, Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
From the start of the Universal series, it was decided that this Holmes was to be updated. Their Sherlock was to be a modern fellow. For the first 3 movies, there was an acknowledgement, one might say an excuse, for this updating, which followed the opening credits. It ran, "Sherlock Holmes, the immortal character of fiction, created by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, is ageless, invincible, and unchanging. In solving the significant problems of the present day, he remains as ever the supreme master of deductive reasoning." So there. Actually, this piece of rhetoric was dropped after the 3rd film, and Sherlock Holmes Faces Death is the first entry in the series without it. Another indication of the series' change of direction. They didn't want to emphasise the modernness of Holmes anymore. Of course, the character has over the years been linked with certain props: the curly pipe, the violin, the dressing gown, and the deerstalker and Ulster cape. Universal deigned that the pipe and violin could stay, but the hat and coat had to go. Well, the Ulster would have been rather cumbersome for a fellow dashing around war-torn London.
Don't maul me.
You can see the coat that they chose as an alternative here. This tweedy number has a kind of timelessness about it. As for the hat, well, that became a tweedy one after this movie, but in Faces Death it is a normal trilby.
You rang Dr. Watson?
Yes, Brunton. I want you to take some men and go down.
Actually, there is a little in-joke perpetrated in the first film of the series concerning the deerstalker. In the voice of terror, when Holmes and Watson are about to leave their Baker Street rooms, Holmes reaches for the deerstalker. "Holmes," cries Watson, admonishing his friend, "you promised." Rathbone's Holmes mutters in reluctant agreement and claps a modern trilby to his head instead. Possibly as a substitute for the deerstalker, they played around with Rathbone's hair in the first 3 films, coiffuring it in a strange outre style. In this film, sensibly, the hair is swept back, revealing Rathbone's sharp, fine profile.
Indeed. Now, Watson, if you don't mind, I'd like to have a word with your extraordinary patients.
Let me remind you, Holmes, that my patients are just patients.
Quite so.
As I mentioned earlier, the Universal series spawned a kind of repertory company, actors who would turn up as different characters in 2, 3, or even 4 of the films. We're about to meet 3 of them now, these extraordinary patients. This is Captain Mackintosh, the secret knitter, played by Olaf Hitton. He was making his second appearance in the series, having played Admiral Sir John Prentice in The Voice of Terror. He would later feature in The Scarlet Claw, reduced down to a hotel clerk in that one, and Pursuit to Algiers.
That's quite all right.
See you later.
Yes.
Sit down, Mac, and go on with your sleep. Poor chap, he lay wounded in a trench on Joshua Hill. The German tanks went over him.
Here we have one of the rare moments where Bruce's Watson seems remarkably sensible and astute. His medical knowledge is clearly demonstrated, and he appears to know what he's talking about, although it has to be said Holmes, who is not a doctor, appears to have as much medical know-how as Bruce, or even more. But that's Holmes for you. Of course, the knitting needle points to Captain Mackintosh as suspect. Here's another member of the rep company, Major Langford, played by Gerald Hamer, a guy with ropes round his middle.
Hello, Langford.
He'd already been in Sherlock Holmes in Washington, an unbilled performance. He was later to feature in The Scarlet Claw, Pursuit to Algiers, and Terror by Night.
What?
I hope so.
I hope so. I hope so. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Poor chap was at Singapore. Escaped from a Japanese prison camp.
His performance in The Scarlet Claw is a tour de force, playing the murderer who assumes various disguises to commit his crimes. These recuperating officers are the only real indication that there's a war going on in this movie.
He's a bit on edge.
And so we're about to meet Clavering, the strange, smiling fellow, played by Vernon Dowling.
Coming.
He was promoted to the villain's sidekick in the next movie, Spider-Woman,
Well, Dr. Watson.
and she was played by Gail Sondergaard.
Sorry to keep you so long.
And then he disappeared from the series. That strange monotone that he affects in this movie
This is my friend,
is
Mr.
also
Holmes.
evident in Spider-Woman,
Clavering.
so that's possibly why he did disappear from the series.
Cool. I say, you don't happen to have some cigarettes about you, do you?
That's one of the reasons I came. I brought you some of those
The
American...
first movie of the Universal Holmes series began shooting on the 5th of May 1942.
No hurry.
Its working title was Sherlock Holmes Saves London.
Of course there isn't.
You can see the way Universal men's minds were working.
Be off, we've got a lot to
This, of
do.
course, became Sherlock Holmes and the Voice of Terror.
Good night.
This film also initiated the little patriotic homily mouthed by Holmes at the end, which featured in the first 4 films.
Isn't that, poor chap?
I'm sure it was meant to raise the spirits of the cinema goers as they left the darkened auditorium and faced the reality of the world at war.
Put it on go. It worn out. He's all
In Voice of Terror, we actually got words from Conan Doyle's story His Last Bow.
Vickery.
There's an east wind coming all the same. Such a wind has never blown England yet. It is a cold and bitter, Watson, and a good many of us may wither before its blast. But it's God's own wind nonetheless, and a greener, better, stronger land will lie in the sunshine when the storm has cleared. Moving stuff. Of course, Doyle wrote these words in reference to the First World War, but they were just as applicable the second time around.
But only when he's drinking.
At the heart of the film, The Voice of Terror, was the Voice of Terror himself, a kind of Lord Haw-Haw character, who broadcast German propaganda to the British people.
An American killer given to verse.
At the end of the film, the Voice of Terror is unmasked as Sir Evan Barham, although the voice of the broadcast predicting the disasters was another actor altogether.
Jeff and Pat.
No, my dear, you've got to get a grip on yourself.
This first film was the only one to be directed by John Rawlins.
My brother Jeff.
He turned out a polished product, but it is very different in style to the bulk of the later series. His use of sharp, contrasting bright light and black shadow, and his fondness for long, intimate close-ups, are particular to this film only.
Pull yourself together.
But you don't understand. They're trying to say that Pat... They're trying to prove that Pat killed Jeff.
No.
Yes. Funny, isn't it? Awfully funny. Awfully
Here we have Hilary Brooke being rather overdramatic.
you.
My name's
Never
Holmes.
could quite manage those kind of scenes, I think. But it brings out the stern nature of Sherlock Holmes too, and he's behaving in not too gentlemanly a manner with
Your brother
her.
Jeffrey and Captain Vickery?
That's got nothing to do with
It
it.
may have everything to do with it.
If you think Captain Vickery ever murdered anyone, you're no more of a detective than Dr. Watson.
Dear.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're very much in love, aren't you?
I'm out of my mind, Mr. Holmes.
The director Roy William Neill was very, very fond of filming Basil Rathbone in profile like this to bring out that wonderful,
Don't understand.
keen,
They're
aesthetic
calling man from
face.
Scotland Yard is questioning Pat at this very moment.
Now here we meet Captain Vickery, the gentleman in uniform, and notice you can't see his feet. That's because he's standing on something to raise his height. This was the actor Milburn Stone, who was later to gain fame as Doc in the 50s television series Gunsmoke. However, he was a short man, a fact that the producers failed to consider when they cast him as a romantic lead. Stone himself recalled, "Everybody in the picture was taller than me. There was a shot where Basil and I had to walk across the room together. He walked on the floor, but they built a special platform for me so I'd look taller. I had a love scene with Hilary Brooke, which was even worse. We were sitting on the sofa, and I looked almost like a midget next to her. The property man supplied me with cushions to prop me up." Well, the scene walking with Rathbone must have been cut from the print, because I cannot find it in this version. However, Stone does walk with Hilary Brooke very shortly, or very shorty, and they do seem to be the same height, which they were not.
Who told you so?
He did. No, he did.
I only stated what I heard. Captain Vickery did threaten my brother.
That's right, Mr. Holmes, and it's no good saying it ain't. This Yankee lad had motive and opportunity, and the rake ties him right up tight to the corpse. All right, come along.
Do you really think he killed old Musgrave?
You know very well he didn't. He doesn't.
Stop clicking those needles.
Notice now that you see Stone appears to be taller than Hilary Brooke. And it's true that you never see Stone's full length when he is with another person.
Mr. Holmes,
Steady, steady.
aren't you on our side?
Yes, Sally.
Then why don't you do something?
Because Captain Vickery will be much safer in the local police station tonight than he would be in this house.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, what am I going to do?
Watson, give us a
What am I going to
sedative.
do?
I'll get it at once. Come along, Sally.
She's a bit
Now,
upset,
let
but
me
she's
introduce you to Gavin Muir, the gentleman with the pipe and the sports jacket. He is the final member of the repertory company in this film. Muir was actually an American, but he affected a British accent quite well in a vast number of movies. He was seen in 2 other Holmes films in this series, Sherlock Holmes in Washington and The House of Fear. Of course, this business with the knitting needle is used to create yet another suspect. And again we've got Rathbone in profile. And notice how Gavin Muir turns to talk to him, but Rathbone remains in the same position.
over Jeff's body, in front of the fireplace in the library, in the presence of the entire household. Well, that's better.
That's what sort of formula?
Oh, it's not meaningless words. Musgrave Ritual, they call it. It's an old family custom. It's been handed down for generations.
You remember the words?
No, not at all.
But you had to speak
The
them when you
ritual,
brought
which
Jeff
we are
into
just about to hear, is totally different from the
that's right,
one in
I've
the
heard.
original Conan Doyle story. This one is created by Bertram Millhauser, the screenwriter.
Were better dead. Who next shall find it perils his head. The last to find it defies dark powers.
Who first shall find
And so, all the Gothic stops are pulled out in this scene.
Who next shall
A
find
funereal gathering
perils his
with most of the
head.
cast,
The last
an
to
obscure
find it
ritual
defies
with
dark
references to
powers
slaughter,
and brings good fortune
along
to
with
those who
the
cower.
wind,
Where was
the
light
rain,
on the
the
face of
thunder,
messenger?
and the
Where did
lightning.
he speed? To guard the Queen's page. What foeman advanced?
One of the
bishop's
brilliant things about the
page,
studio
Rathbone.
system in those days
And
was
who
because so many
foretell
talented people were under one
King's
roof,
cautious page?
all on the same payroll.
What then
They could be called upon to work on any of the studio's pictures, however great or small. For the lightning effect in this movie, director Roy William Neill called upon the services of
Slaughters.
Kenneth Strickfaden,
page?
who had provided all the marvellous special effects, including the laboratory equipment, in The Great Bride of Frankenstein, 1935. We can see his magic at work in this scene.
Who came then to slay him? The bloodthirsty bishop. Where shall he go? Deep down below. away from the thunder. Let him dig under.
The second Universal Holmes film was shooting before the first one had been released. Filming began on June 21st, 1942, under the working title Sherlock Holmes Fights Back. The war theme is still prevalent. Irish-born director Roy William Neill was brought in to handle this one, which became Sherlock Holmes and the Secret Weapon. It was a fortuitous occurrence. Neill, whose real name was Roland de Gostry, began his career as an actor. He also wrote 2 successful plays before drifting into directing movies.
One moment, sir.
So you can see that with that kind of diverse background, he would bring a great deal of experience and all-round talent to the Holmes movies.
Mr. Holmes.
He was invariably involved in low-budget second features, although he did direct Boris Karloff in the nice little horror gem The Black Room, 1934, and in 1943 was at the helm when Frankenstein meets Wolfman.
I don't often have visitors.
According to reports, some of the crew on the Rathbone Holmes films called him Rocking Chair Neill, because he insisted there was a rocking chair on the set when he directed. Others affectionately called him Mousy.
You were the one who prompted her.
He was immediately at homes with the Sherlock series. His feeling for the stories and his eye for atmosphere and creation of mood contributed to the success of the movies. Ah, here we see Holmes with his curvy briar pipe. The curvy pipe became part of Holmes's image, although Doyle never referred to it in the stories. It was the American actor William Gillette who played Holmes on stage in the early part of the 20th century who began using a curly pipe and made this image popular. In fact, he used a large meerschaum pipe, which has a very large bowl. The story goes that he chose such a pipe so that he could turn sideways while on stage and rest the bowl on his shoulder while he delivered a speech.
I know.
What things?
No, you don't.
About the Musgraves?
That'd be telling. But here's to them anyway. All the Musgraves, past and present. Some of them were murderers, and some of them worse. But they all knew how to keep a secret.
Hobbs gives a really brilliant performance in this film. It's a shame that he didn't make any more of the Rathbone Holmes films. It's interesting how Millhauser's original screenplay touches the Doyle story at certain junctures. In Doyle's story, the head of the Musgrave household sacks the butler Brunton when he discovers that he has been getting up in the night to study the ritual. This now is the fate of R. Brunton, the sack, for dereliction of duty. And both Bruntons end up dead in a crypt.
You've done it now, Alf Brunton. After all we've been through. How am I managed to do it all alone? What are you going to do?
What am I going to do?
After the lightning, which could have been an act of God, of course, the red herring of the 13 chimes is reintroduced, so that we know that another murder is in the offing. Again, lovely lighting effects to bring out the drama of the situation.
"13 again.
Yes.
And so we see another body being carried out of the greenhouse. The fellow carrying the body was an extra just used for those shots. The strange Middle European architecture of this set, which featured in several of the Frankenstein movies, is anglicised a little by the sound of someone singing "Flow Gently Sweet Afton" from one of the windows. Note that Holmes is wearing his overcoat over his shoulders, possibly in an attempt to replicate the shifting motion of an Inverness cape. So, while Holmes pops into the pub for a drink, let me return to the chronology of the series and the third film, Sherlock Holmes in Washington.
Well, old boy, I can do with a drink.
This movie went further, literally, than the other two by taking Holmes and bubble-gum-chewing Watson to Washington, D.C. The original title was Sherlock Holmes in the USA, but the makers became more particular. Perhaps they had ideas of future films set in America, Sherlock Holmes in New York, Las Vegas and Honolulu. The idea is not so fantastic. That other shrewd detective character, Charlie Chan, had suffered a similar fate. He had solved mysteries in New Orleans, Reno, on Broadway, and in the aforementioned Honolulu.
They can smell a carcass half a mile off.
Yeah, that they can and all. You should see Charlie here.
Yes, Universal went too far. They took Holmes away from any surroundings that were in some way part of the character. They put him in open-top cars, on aeroplanes, and in modern American railway carriages. He looked out of place. The fans certainly thought so. Sherlock Holmes in Washington remains the least successful and the least liked of all the Rathbone Holmes movies.
Gracie, have you seen Dr. Watson?
He's over there, lass.
Thank you.
Interestingly, the Nazi villain in this film, Mr. Stanley, was played by George Zucco, who had been Professor Moriarty to Rathbone's Holmes in the memorable 1939 The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Director Neill was a great one for letting the viewer imagine horror rather than showing it, as it is clear from this scene. Holmes is about to discover the body and whisper the victim's name, but we don't see the corpse. The fact that he has been led to the corpse by a raven that can smell blood is sufficient horror enough.
Philip Musgrave.
In Sherlock Holmes in Washington, the homily is delivered as Holmes and Watson drive past back-projected views of Washington, while Holmes muses, "This is a great country, Watson. Look up ahead, the capital, the very heart of this democracy. It's not given to us to peer into the mysteries of the future, but in the days to come, the British and the American people will, for their own safety and good of all, walk in majesty, justice and peace." Holmes then reveals that he was quoting from a speech made by the British Prime Minister Winston Churchill in the Capitol building not very long before. The music swells. The end. Although the sentiments are Churchill's and by implication the flag-waving Universal folk, they are not far behind Conan Doyle's own take on the relationship between America and Britain. In his home story, The Noble Bachelor, Doyle has Holmes observe, "It is always joy to meet an American, for I am one of those who believe that the folly of a monarch and the blundering of a minister in far-gone years will not prevent our children from being some day citizens of the same worldwide country under a flag which shall be the quartering of the Union Jack with the stars and stripes."
What's that got to do with it?
Everything. The similarity of method in both murders shows they were the work of one man.
Well, that's Vickery.
Well, by now Basil Rathbone was well into his stride as Holmes, as is evident from this scene, where he's on top form. Authoritative, sharp, and that wonderful ability to remain still and convince you that he's thinking. This was his fifth movie as the Baker Street Wizard, but he had already recorded nearly 100 radio shows. He knew the character inside out, and as he intimated in his autobiography, the continuous repetition of story after story left me virtually repeating myself each time in a character that I had conceived and developed.
That's a very undignified position, Lestrade. Up today, is it?
In a house as old as this, it's not unusual to find secret passageways that lead down through the walls. Hello, here we are.
Indeed, the character left little room for development as an actor, and I think it is to Rathbone's credit that during the series he made no attempt to stretch the envelope, as it were, to include new things which were inappropriate, to make Holmes something he wasn't. He was true to the original source from start to end. The press liked him too. The Hollywood Reporter said Basil Rathbone assumes the part of Sherlock Holmes with the suavity that is his stock-in trade.
You'll get lost, sir.
Let him. Now listen to me. Where did you enter that passageway?
Through the old greenhouse in Limeoak, sir.
Did Brunton know that?
No, he didn't.
Mrs. Brunton, then why were you looking for him in there?
Yes, we've known all along that you were married to Brunton.
You know Philip Musgrave was murdered, don't you?
No.
Yes, you do, and you think Brunton did it?
No.
You think he carried him down through the greenhouse?
No.
Over to the garage?
No, he never.
And crammed his body in the rumple seat of that roadster?
Don't you try and put the blame on Alf.
I'll put the blame on both of you. You're in this together. You were in his room last night. I saw you there.
Only
The interrogation method of Holmes, and again, a profile shot.
That he got it all worked out.
Did he leave any notes, any record?
No. That is...
Oh, come on, out with it.
Only this, sir. I found it this morning under the soap dish on his washstand.
Hastily written.
Another jingle?
Yes. Obviously in some agitation. If any harm should come to me, fleshly or spiritual, seek and you will find the key in the Musgrave Ritual.
The old ritual, there it is again.
Watson, we've got to find that ritual. It's the key to the whole business.
Just a minute. You can't talk to Sally.
Why not?
She was in such a state I had to give her a hypo.
All right, come
One
on.
of the key reasons Sherlock Holmes Faces Death is well regarded is because we see Sherlock Holmes do some detective work. The purpose behind Conan Doyle's creation of Sherlock Holmes was that here was a detective who can solve mysteries by deduction and rational thought processes, not by accident, good luck, or the carelessness of the criminal. Screenwriter Bertram Millhauser took this idea to his heart. We have already witnessed Holmes making deductions about knitting needles and footprints. Now we have this sublime scene where he deduces where Sally has hidden the all-important Musgrave Ritual. We, the audience, can follow his thought processes.
House and estate bordering on hysteria. She comes through that door, goes to that desk, throws down her gloves. The first thing her eye lights on is the Musgrave Ritual. In her mind, it's tied up with all the disasters.
It is an original scene, not pinched from any of Doyle's stories, but it is a very able pastiche of the way Doyle presented the detective's methods. And it is credible, which is not always the case with Doyle.
Was she alone in this room at any time before you gave her the hypo?
Certainly not. Nora was here. She helped into bed while I went for my bag.
Good. Nora,
Yes, sir.
when you were alone with Miss Sally, what was the first thing she did?
Watson's suggestions are amusing, but not facile. It is just that he jumps to conclusions like the man in the street would, like probably you or I would. This whole scene smacks of a masterclass by the master detective.
Then she asked me to step over and draw the curtains. Why, someone's pulled them open.
Yes, I know. When you drew the curtains, you turned your back on her?
Sure, and it wasn't more than 2 shakes of a lamb's tail.
Long enough. When you were at the window, where was she?
She was sitting over here. Sitting right here, taking off her stockings. Oh, but she never left the chair. I kissed the book on it.
I've got it. She must have tucked that paper under this cushion. Must have changed her mind.
Obviously.
Well, she could have hidden it anywhere here.
A great deal of this input came from the influence of the director Roy William Neill. After the disappointment of In Washington, the studio knew they had to transport this sleuth, immortal though he may be, to the classic trappings of the original stories. From this film on, the series took a turn for the better. One could only wonder if this was due to the fact that Roy William Neill now also became associate producer as well as director, Howard Benedict being promoted to executive producer of the series and therefore had little creative input.
Where fell the light on the face of the messenger.
Throughout the course of the film, we're being given glimpses of the checkered floor of the hall at Musgrave Manor. Indeed, Brunton came down this very staircase to encounter Watson in the opening scenes of the film. But now, the real import of this floor is shown in a wondrous revelation by Holmes.
I say, Watson.
To be fair, references to King, Queen, Knight, Bishop were fairly obvious, and I guess a few moviegoers might have got ahead of the game here. But nevertheless, it's a clever idea.
Follow the light. On the face of the messenger. Look at it, Watson. Look at it. Like a giant chessboard. This is no gibberish. These are chess terms, and that's the chessboard. The secret of the Musgrave murder.
It's a nice touch that the floor is being cleaned at the time, the surreal lighting suggesting a large lattice window. This surreal feel is carried on into the next scene, with Holmes up a ladder, conducting a human chess match. To me, there is something sort of Salvador Dali-ish about this scene. Here we have almost like the god chess master in charge of people's lives.
Here, I'll show you. I'll show you. One.
It is in this scene that the innocuous Dr. Sexton gives the game away, his own game away. Watch him as he moves his position, apparently in a careless, casual fashion. Having claimed that he knows nothing about chess, the only person involved in this exercise who expresses such ignorance, and yet he places himself back in the correct position when he's moved out of it. It's done so quickly, simply. It really is a sleight of hand by Millhauser, who, of course, very conveniently, has got silly Inspector Lestrade out of the way for this serious moment, only to bring him back when the real detective work has been done. We must assume, then, that Sexton has murdered Brunton, but the reason for this is not clear yet. Obviously, he had to get rid of the Musgrave brothers in order that Sally could become heir, and then he could move in on her, woo her, until he gets her to marry him, and then he gets presumably the manor and the treasure.
That's my move.
But why was Brunton killed? And it is fitting that he dies as he dies in the original story, in approximate circumstances. That's the cleverness of Millhauser again.
You moved, didn't you?
Did I? I don't think so.
Yes, I'm afraid you did.
Well, where was I? King Bishop 3?
That's right.
Oh, yes, of course. So sorry.
3, 4, 5. Captain, it looks bad for you.
Aye, but where shall I go?
Where shall he go?
Strangely, no one raises an eyebrow that this gigantic manor in Northumberland, the home for convalescent officers, only seems to have 4 officers staying there, and one of them's been arrested anyway.
But it's been locked up for centuries. One of the old Musgraves murdered his own brother down there.
Shh, listen. Hello, what's that?
It's Brunton. Alf! Alf! He's in that passageway over the fireplace. Are you there, Brunton?
Get me out! It's me, Lestrade. I'm lost. I'm all turned around.
You have been for years. Get him out of there, will you, Mrs. House, and give him a saucer of milk. Come here, Jenny.
It must have pleased Nigel Bruce when he knew that Lestrade was going to be in the films, because he knew that he wouldn't be then the most comic and stupid character there. And now we come to the crypt. Oh, and what a crypt! The sinister, vaulted subterranean chamber is the one that had been built 12 years earlier for Universal's Dracula, the great horror movie starring Bela Lugosi as the famous bloodsucker.
Oh, there's no been a soul here in a couple of 100 years.
Someone's been here, and in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, clean as a new pin.
Precisely. The dust of 200 years is on the walls. The floor's been swept clean.
The scenes in the crypt are enhanced by moody photography of Charles Van Enger. Again, we get more pertinent deductions, this time about the floor. Also, the listening equipment that Clavering has been seen with throughout the movie, and may have been regarded merely as a prop to illustrate his nervous and paranoid condition, now becomes a useful aid to Sherlock Holmes in solving the mystery. Such subtleties of scripting are often missed by the cinema audience. And so they should be, I can hear Bertram Millhauser cry. All sleights of hand should go undetected. Of course, this is another element that places this Holmes in the middle of the 20th century. Doyle's home of Victorian times would not have had such equipment to use to help him out. But this is one aspect of the updating which is subtle and in keeping with the character.
Interfering with what I'm trying to do.
Much more so than his struggle with Hitler's spies.
Stand perfectly still, everybody. This is the spot. Lend me a hand.
Of course.
One must assume that the 4 men there are the 4 main suspects for the crime. It is interesting, almost in a Hitchcockian manner, that the villain,
body.
Dr. Sexton is the only person wearing a light-coloured outfit.
Lord of the Manors of Holston.
He is different from the rest,
Place used to be known as
as though he's
Holmes
wearing
Towers.
white to apparently try to flag up his innocence.
Anno Domini 1539. What we're looking for is underneath here. That's what the ritual meant by deep down below. It's a burial crypt. Up with it.
Excellent shot. And now we're into the
I
crypt.
say, there's somebody down there.
Who is it? This is Brunton?
And the body of Brunton is discovered very much in the manner that the butler at Hurlstone is in the Doyle story. He had been murdered also, but by his lover Rachel Howells. Holmes discovered him trapped in a small cellar. All these elements from the Musgrave Ritual, the gunfire indoors at the beginning, the sacking of Brunton, the death of Brunton, the ritual itself, they don't go far to make up a plot, but their subtle points gives a nod in the direction of the original source. And perhaps it is a sop to the accountants at Universal after paying $300,000 for the use of the stories.
Henry, by the grace of God, King of Great Britain, France and Ireland, defender of the faith.
What have you found?
Any clue? Any clue?
No. Just an old document. Hello. What's this? Looks like some sort of writing. Watson!
Coming.
Hold this for me, will you? Steady. There, on the floor by his right hand. See those marks in the dust? Like pin scratches made with his fingernail.
This is a trick, of course,
Yes.
and Holmes is perpetrating it
See that stuff under his nail?
purely for the four people who are witnessing it. So there is the murderer. Which one is it?
Aye, tell us, man. What did he write?
I can't make it out. It's too faint.
Here, I've got good eyes. Let me.
Stay where you are, all of you. These marks must not be erased.
What are you going to do, Holmes?
I'm going to leave this just as it is.
And so to the final reel, where Holmes is
words.
perpetrating his trick. Remarkably, we find out later that he has not only
Yes, I
included
have.
Watson,
I think
but
the
also
content of his last
Lestrade
strength
in his plans.
wrote the name of his murderer on that floor in his own blood.
Usually, Conan Doyle's Sherlock was loath to explain his plans until they'd borne fruit. For example, in The Hound of the Baskervilles, he sends Watson down to Dartmoor on the pretext of guarding Sir Henry because he's too busy to do the job himself. Yet, in reality, he travels down to Dartmoor almost immediately himself to keep his eye on Sir Henry and Watson. The good doctor is kept in the dark until very close to the climax of the story. This is different. Although we don't know it yet, both Lestrade and Watson, duffers both, are aware of what he's trying to do, trap the murderer.
I said with your life.
Anything you say, Holmes?
There's no entrance to this cellar except through that doorway.
But Holmes, what I feel about...
Brunton's murderer's in this house. He's bound to make one last effort to get down there to erase those marks. Naturally. The Lestrade's men are posted outside. They'll see to it that nobody leaves this house.
Concentration camp.
My men have orders to shoot, if necessary. I'll be outside myself, keeping
Good.
watch.
Sexton, your post will be at Miss Sally's door. And remember, she's in more danger than anyone here.
Don't worry, I'll look after her, Mr. Holmes.
Good night.
Good night, Holmes.
Good night. Good luck.
Oh, Dr. Watson, if you want any help, sing out.
I don't mind saying I'd feel a lot safer if I had a gun on me.
I always keep mine ready.
What we now have is a section of padding. Some comic business with Watson, which involves, in fact, a comic reference to Mrs. Miniver later on, which certainly dates the film in more ways than one. It really does suggest that at this point the script was running out of steam. It's a little short, and so we have almost a music hall routine with Watson, and then a little later with Watson and Clavering.
That's funny. Striking 12 again.
While this is going on, let me make a few final observations about Rathbone's hairstyle. In the first 3 films, we had what the critics called the locks of Sherlock. Rathbone's hair was combed forward and coiffured in a strange kind of bohemian Nero-like fashion. One can assume that certain style merchants at Universal stated that, as Sherlock Holmes was to be put in a modern setting, so there were no Inverness capes and moody deerstalkers, they had to do something about the character's appearance to set him apart from the rest of the cast, to make him seem different, aesthetic, arty even. So the answer was, comb his hair forward. Well, it didn't work, of course. It just looked odd, to be more precise. It looked silly. So God bless whoever it was, and I suspect it was an agreement between Roy William Neill and Rathbone himself to return the actor's hairstyle to normal. It worked brilliantly because Rathbone had a brilliant face, lean and eager, and looked like Sherlock Holmes in that fashion.
What on earth's all this monkey business?
I didn't lock you in.
Well, doors don't lock themselves.
They do in this house.
What are you doing down here anyway?
I'm worried it's about Langford.
Langford?
Yes, he's got it into his head that this is a Jap prison camp. He's got that filthy rope and he's bound and determined to go out the window.
He can't do that. Lestrade's men will shoot him.
Here's the musical act. Up and down the stairs.
Then again, he may not be.
Perhaps you're right.
Let me go.
No. You'll be shot. I'll go.
No, you'll be shot.
Oh, really?
Let's both go.
Oh, I can't leave here. You stay where you are. I'll go and call Lestrade. Remember, Clavering, stay where you are. Here! Look here, Constable. I'm Dr. Watson.
Are you now? Well, I'm Mrs. Miniver. Come along to the inspector.
Gross impertinence.
Bruce announces himself as I'm Dr. Watson, as though the character should be famous. And so we're about to find out who the murderer is. And it would be a great, great surprise if it wasn't Dr. Sexton.
Useless. Quite useless, I assure you.
And it is Dr. Sexton.
There's nothing written on the floor.
Sadly, this murderer is one of the most colourless villains ever to pit himself against Sherlock Holmes in this or any other film or story.
You deserve some of the light.
Dr. Bob Sexton gives no impression of his ego and his cunning, and when cornered puts up only a perfunctory resistance.
It struck me as odd that the man who murdered both Musgraves with such a sure hand.
The thought that he could woo Hilary Brooke for her inheritance is laughable.
Unless, of course,
Dr. Sexton, or Dr. Sex as we might consider him, was played by British actor Arthur Margetson. If I reveal that before becoming an actor, Margetson was a stockbroker's clerk, perhaps that says it all. He never rose beyond very small supporting roles in B-movies. This was his one and only appearance in a Rathbone Holmes film. Actually, being a stockbroker's clerk is quite a Sherlockian profession. There's a Doyle Holmes story of that name.
Oh, yes, you did. I saw it in your case. The night I came into this house. Just
the time-honoured use of flashback to explain details of the plot.
It wasn't broken then. It was only when you killed Philip Musgrave that you lost a piece of it.
Oh, nonsense. Why should I go around sticking...
This is all very British, the villain and the protagonist being so civil and polite to each other.
Matrimony generally has a motive. And in this case, the motive was matrimony.
Oh, you mean Miss Sally?
I do.
Oh, I see. So you think it's a case of murder for profit, do you?
Precisely.
My dear Holmes, that won't do. The Musgraves are land poor. Everybody knows that.
Exactly. But everybody didn't know what you knew. You worked out the meaning of the Musgrave Ritual.
I have? Oh.
Yes, you have. You claimed you knew nothing about the game of chess.
This is one of the aspects of the deductions that the audience watching the film could have worked out for themselves, which is very nice and clever.
Why should I have stepped out of my square in the first place?
Break up my move, spoil my game, and prevent me from finding what you had already found.
And that was?
The old land grant I took from this box, which would have made Sally Musgrave upon the death of her brothers The richest woman in England. Well, what's that? Don't tell me you found another needle. No. Just a button. Wouldn't be yours, would it? Mine? Give it to me. Thank you. Would you mind telling me why you think I was down here with Brunton? No, not at all. As I see it, you killed Philip Musgrave in his own room, carried his body down through the secret passageway, out through the greenhouse, into the garage, where you crammed it into the rumble seat of that roadster.
Now here's a flashback of a scene we haven't seen before, and gives us a reason why Brunton and not another Musgrave was murdered.
Nursing a grudge against Philip Musgrave.
But we must also remember the beginning of the film and not forgive Bertram Millhauser, the scriptwriter, for showing us a scene where Dr. Sexton was apparently attacked.
And exit Brunton. Very ingenious, Mr. Holmes. You seem to have everything, except perhaps the negligible item of proof. Suppose we leave that to the jury. Suppose we do. Shall we go? After you.
So it is in this scene that the film lives up to its title.
Oh, thanks.
Sherlock Holmes Faces Death. Although I suppose he faces death in all the films.
But you were taking a bit of a chance coming down here all alone with a suspected murderer. One has to take chances in my profession, Doctor. You see, I couldn't possibly risk sharing my little plot with anybody. Not even with Dr. Watson? No, particularly not with Dr. Watson. If he'd known what was up tonight, he'd have been so elaborately mysterious, he'd have given the whole show away. As a matter of fact, I had the devil's own time luring him away from that door upstairs so that we could be alone. That's all I wanted to know.
The trick of persuading the villain to confess because he believes he has the upper hand and no one is listening, or at least he thinks no one is listening, is a ruse used by Sherlock Holmes in the story The Dying Detective. In this tale, the villain crows over the emaciated body of a dying Sherlock Holmes, unaware that the detective's deathly appearance is merely make-up, and that Watson is taking notes nearby. The situation here is similar enough to think that Millhauser, who, as I've noted before, knew his Sherlockian stuff, used the idea to give another nod to the original source.
Look here. You're not really going to kill me, are you? They'll hear you. Who will? That was a bad slip you made, letting me know you were so completely alone. And you're really going to kill me. I'm afraid I have no choice, Mr. Holmes. But as you said, I've no evidence against you. No proof at all. You forget the needle and the button. Bring them here, please.
The audience are probably convinced that what Rathbone said about being alone is true, because what he said about Dr. Watson rings very, very true, that he wanted to keep him away and he would react to give the game away if he actually told him the truth. In this instance, Bruce acted correctly.
Thank you. Curious about that button. It is off my coat, of course. Can't think how I never missed it. Poor old Brunton. He didn't struggle much. Now, Phil Musgrave was different. The needle broke off and I didn't have time to probe for it. But you've got both of them now.
One can assume how much better this scene would have been if we'd had someone like George Zucco or Lionel Atwill playing the villain.
Against the wall. Now, if you stand perfectly still, I think I can manage this with one shot.
So Holmes is getting exactly what he wants, a confession, just as in The Dying Detective.
Did you hear his confession, Watson?
Every word, Holmes.
And I heard all the rest, sir.
Good. Let me congratulate you on an extraordinary catch.
You've never seen Lestrade and Watson look as menacing as that. I think that's because they don't speak.
Those blank
It's quite chilling.
sort of trick, I grant
But
you.
unfortunately, Sexton makes a pathetic attempt to escape. He
He
really doesn't deserve an opponent such as Sherlock
I knew
Holmes.
you'd snap it off.
Yes, we told you we're taking an awful risk.
Well, we had to have a confession. And these egomaniacs are always so much more chatty when they feel they have the upper hand. Shall we go?
I can't make head nor tail of it. Can you, Pat?
Well, it looks like an old land grant.
It's really a crown grant.
What I don't understand is why the Musgraves didn't claim the land ages ago.
Obviously, Watson, one of them died before passing on the meaning of the ritual to his heir. The words remained, but the sense was lost.
I wonder why he left the grant down there where he found it.
What good would it have done him?
There we are,
long as
we've
your
got
brothers lived.
Vickery and
Once they were
Sally
out
on
of
the
the way and you came
sofa.
into the property,
He's
you
plumped
expected
up with
to marry
cushions.
I like that. Whatever made him
He
think...
thought himself irresistible.
The ending is typically patriotic. Sally is not going to see anyone suffer by the discovery of the land grant.
Did you say millions?
I did.
The message is that people are precious, and by implication something that the Nazis don't understand.
Acres of the richest soil in England.
And of course by this time the Japanese
Farms,
too.
villages, even a factory town, with hundreds of workmen's cottages.
Is this thing legal?
Perfectly. Of course, it'll drag on through the courts.
Just a moment. The people on this...
The
land,
homily at the end
they
of this
put their money
film
into
comes
it.
from
Their life
Millhauser
work.
himself.
It's their homes I'll be taking.
Yes.
Do you think I'm going to kick these
And
people
one
out?
American critic picked up on the lines in his review. The days of grab and greed are over, remarks that remarkable man, Mr. Holmes. It gives one new confidence that he should think so. There's almost a capital H on the he should think so, as though it is the sainted Sherlock Holmes.
I had nothing to do with it. The girl, more power to her, acted on her own.
Fans regard Sherlock Holmes Faces Death as one of the best of the series, and with the excellent playing by Rathbone, a clever script by Bertram Millhauser, an atmospheric direction from Roy William Neill, who can disagree?
We're beginning to think of what we
I
owe
certainly
the other fellow.
wouldn't soil
Not just
this
what we
particular
compel
closing
to do.
moment by talking over it.
The time's coming, Watson, when we shan't be able to fill our bellies in comfort while other folk go hungry.
It's a wonderful speech, brilliantly delivered by Basil
While
Rathbone.
others shiver in the cold. When we shan't be able to kneel and thank God for blessings before our shining altars, while men anywhere are kneeling in either physical or spiritual subjection.
You may be right, Holmes. I hope you are.
And God willing, we'll live to see that day, Watson.
The New York Times noted, "What is admirable about the film is a wonderful sense of atmosphere, of mystery, of sepulchral gloom that oozes like fog through the melodrama. No government spy work for Sherlock this time. Despite his being contemporized by the studio right up to the minute, this adventure was, paradoxically, a return to all the shadowy Victorian trappings of the richly old-fashioned mystery. This is due in no small measure to the talents of Roy Neill." I would heartily agree with that. Thank you for listening.